are our greatest weapon of all.
First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one.
It's time we started thinking. Pain isn't something we thought.
All we can ever do for our heroes is remember them, and they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. They gave up everything for our country, for us. They pray for freedom and justice.
Some veterans not getting the timely care that they need. Less than 1% of Americans serving in uniform. Good news is that in recent years we've made historic investments to boost the VA budget.
What is it? Why should we care?
We should care about press freedom
because we were informed.
In democratic societies, free, diverse, and pluralist media enable public debates and are essential checks
You don't
on
look
power.
satisfied. Let's discuss.
Hi guys, Costa.
Joe.
Welcome to Vet podcast, episode 3, compensation benefits. If it's your first time listening to the podcast, thanks for coming. We try to produce podcasts every week, sometimes a little bit longer. As a short reminder, Vet is a non-profit educational project dedicated to assist veterans with adjustment to civilian lifestyle and to provide assistance in obtaining your VA or other available benefits you've earned. So let's go into the show and let's start with today's issue. What's today's topic?
Today's topic is talking about service-connected compensation and the disabilities that we could claim. We'll try to break that down into different areas, and hopefully you guys get an idea of what you can jump on.
Yeah, pretty much VA provides many types of benefits. It can be educational, health, home loan, or insurance. And one of the first things you should check on your discharge paper if you qualify for those benefits. So what are you looking at those papers?
When you're looking at your discharge, what you mainly want to see is that honorable discharge. If you have a general under honorable, that's okay too. Usually that just prevents you from education from the GI Bill, but everything else is pretty much open to you. But say if you have a bad conduct discharge, that might screw you up a little bit, so you might want to talk to a service officer and trying to get that upgraded if you can. But that may not, just because you have that bad discharge doesn't necessarily prevent you from things that are due to you.
Yeah, you just add one more step.
Yeah.
That's it. So, in general, service-connected compensation is available for veterans with physical or mental disabilities, which VA often calls condition. And that actually happened to you while you've been in service in the military, and that aggravated later, or maybe not aggravated, maybe stayed the same. So what?
Yeah, and so the different types of disabilities which you want to talk about is one, straight service connection. Say you were jogging one time during PT and you hurt your knee and you had to get surgery for it. That's straight duty or service, and that'll be a service-connected issue. Aggravated issues are like things that you came into the service with. Say you hurt your knee in high school football, but you still want to join the infantry and you still want to be a parachuter, and now you made your knee even worse. That would be an aggravated condition due to your service. Other ones you could talk about presumptive conditions. Vietnam vets are probably the higher group with the more presumptive conditions like diabetes, cancer issues, things like that. The Iraqi vets, the Afghan vets, we're starting to get a lot of presumptive issues too, but it's a little harder for us than it is the Vietnam vets so far. The other ones would be, did I say secondary already? No. Secondary issues are things that are not necessarily due to your service, but due to your service connected disabilities. So say you hurt your left knee in service and you're service connected for it or you're going for it, but a few years have gone by now and now your right knee's messing with you. You could claim that right knee because of your left knee, and that will get you service connected also, so you could get those higher percentages by going that route.
So first step, as we figured out what Joe just said, you have to have a condition, so something that happened to you, like disease or disability, that can be linked to an injury to what happened to you while you've been in the service.
Definitely.
Secondary, you got to be suffering from that condition because maybe something happened to you and you've been treated by doctors or physicians and it's doesn't bother you anymore. So it got to be bothering you right now at this moment.
Yeah.
Also, if you have a condition that existed before service that became worse while you've been in the service, that you can claim as well. And everything else, you're covered.
And so what you're trying to do in the overall sense of things is prove it. The VA doesn't take our word for nothing. It all comes down to paperwork. So what you're trying to show is, one, something happened to me, two, something's bothering me today, and I have medical records to prove it. You don't want to claim PTSD unless you're a combat vet or you're actually diagnosed with it. If you're not diagnosed, there's a good chance they're going to deny you. No matter what your background is. I've seen guys that were airborne that got denied for knee conditions. I've seen guys that were infantry for 20 years that got denied for hearing loss. It all comes down to having proof of that disability.
Yep. So pretty much, as long as you can establish the link in between your current state and what happened in the service, you should be good to go.
Yeah.
So compensation benefits are based on the percentage of disability caused by the service-connected condition. The disability can be evaluated from 0% to 100%.
And 0% doesn't mean that they denied you. They're just saying that it's not really affecting your life overall. So like, say like this little scar on my arm right here, it's still there, it happened in service, but it's not really affecting your life at all. That's a 0%. Zeros are cool. Zeros, you don't have to talk about your military anymore. You just have to argue that that condition is worse than the last time they saw you. So if you have medical records showing now that this scar is painful, now that the scar is getting worse, you have a good shot at getting an increase out of that 0, but you don't have to talk about your service anymore.
And it could happen 10, 20 years later,
yeah,
after you claim it.
Yeah.
And what means, like money-wise, what does it mean having 0%, 10%, 50%, 100%?
Their numbers are definitely not staggered properly. So 0%, you don't see any money out of it. 10%, you're talking like about $130-something a month tax-free. 100%, you could be looking at, as a single vet, just under $3,000 a month. It's tax-free, no one's business. It's not income, it's compensation.
So guys, that's pretty much it about compensation benefits, and we would like to encourage you to act and to do something about your disabilities. If something bothers you right now, just file for your benefits. If nothing bothers you right now and you're totally fine, don't do it. Don't probably clog the system.
Right. Yeah.
And if you have a disability that you might think is service-connected, see an advocate.
Get it checked out.
Figure out if it's somehow related to a military service, if you believe it's related. If it doesn't relate to a military service, then don't do it.
Yeah.
See a regular doctor, using like regular medical insurance.
And you definitely don't want to be as shy about this. When it comes to disability, I try to tell people don't look at it as a disability. It's things that you earn because of your service. Just like your medals. The medals don't pay you, the medals don't help your kids get college, but your disabilities will. And the higher your disability percentage, the better benefits the VA gives you. So don't think you're taken away from anybody else. If they give you 100%, then your neighbor, your buddy has way better odds now. So now that we're out, it's the easiest way we take care of each other. The hard part when it comes to the VA is that it's squeaky wheel gets the grease. The whole time you're in the military, it's all suck it up, drive on, don't be bitching. Now that you're out, squeaky wheel gets the grease. The more records you have, the better odds you have. So treat it like you're going to court. Get diagnosed, tie it to your service, and get those records to the VA. And you should be pretty successful with your disability claim.
Yeah, and if you can, avoid going into courts.
Yeah. The VA is definitely pushing the appeals process right now. But if you can avoid it, you'll save yourself months and years of headache, because they definitely drag slow.
Yeah, and if you get 0%, you can always file for increase later.
Absolutely.
Not this year, not next year, maybe 5 years later.
Yeah.
For that scar.
Yeah. Yeah. World War II vets, I still see them coming in today filing. So just because you think it was 10 years, 20 years, doesn't matter. If it happened to you in service and you can prove it, go for it. Any little way you could help your family, do it.
Yeah, if you don't need money right now, or you don't like to ask government for money, you should consider what's going to happen to you in the future.
Yeah.
And if you don't need money, you can always return VA checks to the Treasury.
Yeah, or donate it to a program that you like. It's never a problem. The main thing, you're like he said, you don't know what's going to happen to you. At some point, you're going to need assisted living. At some point, you're going to need a doctor. At some point, your kids are going to need college. So if you could help them out, and before any of that stuff happens, you're going to have better odds of being successful in life, no matter what the issue is.
So next step would be assembling the packet of the documents together. We definitely will talk about each document probably a little bit separately or a little bit more time, but for your information right now, we'll give you a short list what kind of documents you got to assemble. Yeah. So the first paper you need is your DD-214, pretty much your discharge paper.
Yeah, you want to prove that you served.
You want to prove that you served. Then assemble all your medical documents or private medical documents that you have.
Yeah, so if you got military medical and you have outside medical, try to link those two things up, and if they match, you should be all right.
So once you assemble all those documents together, if you don't file a claim yourself, just give all those documents to VSO or to your advocate, whoever files for you. Make a list of all your dependents if you have. Maybe you're taking care of your old parents, maybe you got small kids, maybe your wife is not working, maybe you just have a wife that is your dependent. So also include all those people in those documents as well.
Definitely.
Give your advocate a written account of everything what happened with you in the service. So he might be able to figure out what kind of disabilities you can claim.
Yeah, they don't have to be serious things. It could be allergies, it could be headaches, it could be deviated septums, it could be ringing in the ears, which are really common for most of us. They don't have to be these serious issues. If something happened, the main thing is if something happened to you and you can prove it.
It's good to have statements from your colleagues or from your buddies, from your battle buddies about what happened on this or that occasion. That's great if you have some kind of statements from the times that you got your combat action badge or Purple Heart, or just a statement of what happened, that you've been blown or you've been hit by a bullet, or maybe a records from the hospital where you've been treated. So any records can help. Any battle buddy statements, any official statements from the Army about what happened, even if it didn't happen to you. Let's say you've been stationed on a camp something, and that camp was on that day was hit, and there is some kind of frago that's been pushed that is not classified that actually you can use. You can use it as well because you've been stationed at that base and you've been serving at that time at that place. So, and yeah, pretty much tell your advocate everything that applies to you, everything what happened. Also, all the payments that you're receiving. You might be receiving payments from Social Security already, normally for old guys, not for us, most likely. So, and all, just provide him all with all the accounts and with all the money actually that you're getting.
Yeah. Just to be on the safe end of things so that advocate could figure out what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go.
Yeah. And don't give the originals, keep copies.
Definitely. Anytime you submit anything to the VA, make copies of what you're giving them and make copies for yourself, because there's a good chance the VA has a good history of losing things, and it's not because they're against you. It's just, it's massive. And there could be so many errors in between with all these documents switching hands and going from one place to another. So that important doctor letter that you have might get lost in the shuffle. But if you have a copy of it, at least you could back yourself. So like I said, treat it like you're going to court. The more records you have backing yourself, if you keep copies so nothing could change, be safe.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's it for this episode. So thanks for listening. Come back often. Feel free to subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. All links are in the podcast notes. And we want to introduce a couple more topics. So one would be even for this for this podcast. So do you have any great book you would like to advise, or maybe a great movie or stuff to do?
If you guys are really looking into disability benefits, I would look into the 38 CFR, which is where all the VA rules come down to when it comes to disability claims. I know it's confusing as hell when you first look at it, but there's basic things in there that you could find that'll give you an idea of what you're aiming at. Deadpool was a good movie.
Well, I haven't seen that one yet. And well, for the quote of the day would be, "Bravery is being the only one who knows you're afraid," and quote by David Heckworth Lee. So thanks, guys.
Yeah,
See you
thank you.
next time.